Hey, it's John and Mike from brew-dudes.com. We're back again. Tonight we're talking about brewing tips.
Brewing tips.
Brewing tips.
Yes.
Tonight's topic of tips is Vienna Lager.
Yes, we're into talking about three big tips. Not every single tip that one could use to brew a great Vienna Lager, but we like to keep it into small doses. So I think the three biggest tips are the most important ones if I'm going to list it in priority. So
what's the first one?
Three tips. The first tip is you got to use Vienna malt when you're brewing a Vienna Lager. It just makes sense. Vienna Lager has a nice toasty, soft maltiness, and when it in the finished beer, it has a nice dryness that it brings to the final product.
Would you use 100% Vienna for your base malt, or what?
You could. I never do. I usually use like a majority of it. I usually do like if my grain bill, it's probably like 80% of it, and then the other 20% I'll break up between Munich or Pilsner, some combination of those two.
Awesome. So what's tip number two?
Tip number two, since it's a lager, you got to use a nice German lager strain and have a lot of nice viable yeast to have a great clean fermentation, to have a nice dry beer at the end. So you have to, make sure you use some kind of calculator to understand how many yeast cells you need to begin with. Hit that fermentation temperature for as long as it takes to totally ferment out, and then have a nice lagering phase after that.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite German lager strain?
Yes, I think I usually use White Labs WLP 830, the German lager strain. That's worked for me. So
that sounds fantastic. All right, and tip number three.
Tip number three. I think if you want to win style points in competition, you may want to doctor the beer with some coloring agents. Let's call it that way. It's either you can do it with dehusked, debittered black malts in your grain bill, or at bottling you can use a little Cinnamar, and you can get that nice copper to even a darker brown color that I've seen commercial examples of Vienna lagers have.
It's awesome.
That's it. So that's three tips. We like to keep it, short, so that you can keep these things in mind when you're brewing. The next excellent example of the style we're talking about.
Great. So till next time.
Till next time.
Brew on.
Brew on.